This is a SEMA Platinum / EMG Daniel Defense thingy. I've done the majority now. I keep getting asked, or that's a lie, I keep getting tagged in things where people talk about gluing in their bushings and gluing in things that don't need gluing in, but especially JB Weld on everything, especially bushings. So I figured, once a month I do like to upset the apple cart and go against the grain. So I'm going to explain to you why that's a dumb fuck idea. These are solid steel bushings. These fit perfectly within this SEMA gearbox. I'm taking out the original 8mm bearings. There's nothing wrong with them. These will definitely last longer.
Sacrificing a little bit of speed and sound for durability.
So, people who glue their bushings in. First things first, do the bushings fall out? Let me take this shim off and put it on here. Do your bushings fall out? No? Leave them alone. That's it, that's all of it. They're not falling out, leave them alone. Sometimes it's very annoying when you're doing something like shimming. You close up the gearbox case, like that. This is not a finished job, by the way. You close up the gearbox casing, and when you open it again, these top bushings and bearings keep dropping out. It's frustrating as bollocks. I understand. If you have that problem, and they do keep dropping out, what you can do, a little bit of thread lock, just a tiny amount on one side, like a little edge, a fucking tiny bit here, and give it a moment, and then that will just hold this in place while you do your shimming. Then, when the gears turn, if the bushings are loose, they will very slightly move and then break up, and then they will spin, and that's that. So for the people that got loose bushings and bearings, A, if they are loose, don't use bearings of any kind, end of conversation, because you don't want that. If you are using solids and they're loose, let's go back to bolts, because their QC is so bad, there is no 6mm bushing on the planet that will sit inside their gearbox casing that doesn't move like fucking this in the slot. Now, let's make an assumption, shall we? You're putting your gears in, like that, and what if the gear can move like this? Because the bushing can move inside the gearbox casing. I understand why you think you'd need to glue that in, but here's why not. If you use super glue or something, it'll probably break away anyway. If you use something like JB Weld or something really heavy duty, you've got a problem, because you put this together, and if you can move the entire bushing, that means there is infinite chances that when you put your bushing in, and you've got the JB Weld around the edge and you put your bushing in, it isn't sitting perfect like this one is. It's very slightly off to the left or right. Now if this one, let's assume, is very slightly off to the left, alright? If you do the other one and it's very slightly off to the right, your gear is going to be sitting like that. Not to a degree such as this, but it will be sitting very slightly pissed. Then you don't have the smoothness of the gears together. You've got them doing this against each other, because now you've got the same with this one perhaps, and the same with this one perhaps, and you've got 3 gears that are doing this. Again, this is very over-exaggerated, but that's what's happening. If you're going to JB Weld your bushings in, they need to be absolutely pristine, spot on. And you ain't going to get that with JB Weld. If you do, it's a fluke. Now, a lot of guns, like bolts and whatever, they're shit. They're fucking shit. They're going to break anyway, so don't bother. I have already asked in a few bolt groups and owners groups and all this crap if I were to get some slightly larger than 6mm bushings made up in solid steel that are specific to the bolt gearbox case, would people be interested? And I've not had a big enough response yet from people going, yes, I need that in my life, because anyone who's taken a bolt apart before has basically noticed, yeah, my gears fucking go like this. So, if you're going to glue things in, if you're going to JB Weld stuff in, it must be absolutely exact and precise. There is no way you can guarantee that unless you sit there and you measure everything with fucking lasers and all that nonsense. It's not worth the hassle. If you get it wrong, you're going to get extra noise, extra heat, and extra damage. and the chances of getting it right are a hell of a lot lower than getting it fucking wrong. So it's just not worth it. If you need to, you change the gearbox casing. So in the case of bolts, which is also the same as the LCT casing, it's the same thing, you've got the little struts that come up. In fact, I've got one. Here you go, this is a bolt. These two little arms do one thing and one thing only, and they hold the blowbacky clicker bolt cover thing. That's the only function they have. If you can live without that little function, is keep your port cover closed, just change the entire gearbox. Just change the gearbox. Any gearbox casing is better than a bolt, apart from Aries. Any gearbox casing is better than bolts. You can see how all these, they've already got a fracture line. They come with a moulded fracture line on there. They're crap. Let's throw a 6mm in there. I'm going to grab any 6mm. Literally any 6mm. Pop that in there. And watch what I can do. Now, if this one can get, let's say you glue it and it's all the way up like that, because it's that way, all the way up. And you JB weld that in. And the other one, through no fault of your own, is all the way down. That's a lot of play. That's about 1mm. That's a lot of play. That's a lot of play. You don't want that. You do not want that. So, in this case, sacrifice those two fucking bits there. Sacrifice your stupid clicker thing. Use any other gearbox casing, because it's the recoil is going to break everything on the inside anyway, because they're shit guns. But at least then, you've got a better base to work from. The same applies to the LCT, where they've got these on here. If you've got the 6mm bushing type, which I don't think they've got anymore, you may find the same thing if it's got the 6mm bushings, but I think it's also E&L. Same thing, same thing. All right? So, gluing them in is, how do you know? Like, you might think that is all the way at the top, but what if it's very slightly pissed and you can't tell? And you think that's completely central, but on the inside it's sitting like fucking that. How are you going to know? You don't know. Don't JB weld stuff in. Don't glue them in. If it's being a dick for shimming, very, very light Loctite. Just so it holds in place while you're shimming, and then when you're using the gun, if it does encounter any kind of slight hindrance or jam, it will just break free. And for anyone who's about to say, well, you don't want that bit of thing, you're stuck in your thing, you're stuck in your mushroom, it's exactly the same as if your fucking JB welder super glue comes out, dickhead, alright? So, that's why you don't do it. That's why you don't lock down your bushings. If they fit fucking snug, awesome! This is a cheap gearbox casing, it's a seamer, and you can see, I've done nothing. They're not locked in. I can push it out, he says. Alright, I've done nothing to it. You get a decent one. Or, as a lot of people do, if you have the ability, ream them out for 7 or 8mm and use solids. It's that simple. It is that simple. That's your solution. That's what you do. I'm sure I'm about to get told that I'm wrong. As you know, whenever I get told I'm wrong, I don't give a fuck. Go away. I don't care. Have fun, kids.
Do you understand? No. I don't understand.
Right then. All done. Wasn't that a nice, quick, easy video, children? The only things I've done with this, nozzle, the bushings, as you saw. It's got a Perrin hybrid inside it. If you're doing a SEMA Platinum, use the ICS sticker. Or MP5s also, ICS sticker. It's got a new tappet plate spring, it's got a new main spring, and it's got a new barrel, hop rubber, nub, and hop unit. That's it. That's all I've done. Nothing else. Quick and easy. I've got this set with 1 blip of active brake, no pre-cocking. The trigger sensitivity is on its finest, which is number 5 on semi, and then on the regular boring 3 with a full auto, which I've got set to 3-shot burst. This is a 9.9 Lifey, and the power is now 1.09 joule, and that is hopping a 3 nice and straight.